What's up, guys? Atapark here, and today with the opening of Tomb of Sargeras, let's talk about raid strategies. Now, what we're going to specifically be talking about here is how you and your guild need to be approaching strategies before, during, and then after an encounter, after a raid night. So, I guess the first question that you guys may have, or that I'm going to let you guys know about, is how does my guild handle raid strategies? How do we handle encounters? How do we handle bosses, especially when new ones come out, i.e. Tomb of Sargeras? Well, truth be told, as a whole, we don't spend a lot of time on the PTR. The reason for that, you guys should know by now, is that while we do have some members that spend an absorbent amount of time or a decent chunk of time, and we do have a few members that spend a little bit of time, the majority of the members of my guild, myself included, have, let's say, extracurricular things that are going on. Work, school, family, life in general, that takes a lot more precedent than spending extra game time in, a test environment where we're not going to gain anything long term. There's a big difference between the PTR where you test out a new change and then your character gets wiped next week, or doing a daily heroic or a couple of mythics, etc. So what this means is that we as a whole need to rely on, simply put, other players, other guilds, other people to come up with our baseline, keyword, strategies when we are going into new encounters. Because we're not a world first guild, because we're not competing with other guilds for, the number one spot on the server, this works. Now, I want to kind of step back for a second. To be clear, my guild and me as a raid leader, as a guild leader, I do want my guild to succeed. I do want my raid to succeed. And of course, I want to kill bosses before you kill bosses, before your guild kills bosses. But I think that my guild agrees that we're not going to push ourselves to the breaking point where we're doing split runs, where we're doing, hey, you need to take a couple of days off work every, new raid. We're not going to do, these, you have to have this much or that much, ridiculous amount of gear or playtime or whatever to jump in. And we're not going to let things pass either. We want to make progress, but not kill ourselves. And honestly, I would say that is the vast majority of the guilds within the raiding community that fall within that category. They don't want to bang their heads against the wall, but they want to make progression, and they're not going to let silly shit slide. And that's not terrible. That's where my guild has been for a long time, and that's where we'll continue to be. We've done heroic content, we've done mythic content. We've waxed and waned on mythic content as our roster has allowed us to, and we are consistently and constantly pushing to get back into mythic content because that's what my guild likes to do. Okay, now with all that being said, what do we use? Generally, my guild, my raiders are open to pretty much anything that's out there. The big ones, obviously, the ones that get a whole lot of views are the ones that we're going to kind of flock towards. Fat Boss, Icy Veins, Wowhead, et cetera, et cetera. All the big names that are out there generally are the ones that my raiders are talking about. Specifically, Fat Boss is the one that we use the most. It's our baseline. Again, keyword, baseline. But we don't just stop there because, you can't just jump in and adopt another guild or another raid strategy and think that it's going to work for your guild, for your raid. That's foolish. That's ignorant. It's just not going to work. There are delicate intricacies and differences between your guild and my guild. And that's what we're talking about today. So what my officers and I do is generally a few weeks before, maybe 2 weeks before, we start jumping in and we watch the Fat Boss videos and we start communicating with each other. What does and doesn't work. We know as leaders what does and doesn't, what are strengths and what are weaknesses within our raid group. For example, my guild, my raid group, DPS, generally never a problem. Few exceptions, but generally never a problem. Strength, huge strength. Weakness, they will tend to sacrifice standing in fire for DPS. And sometimes it's a struggle to go, look, if you sacrifice a little bit of DPS, you sacrifice a whole lot of standing in fire, burning to death, and dying. Everybody wins. So knowing this is a strength and this is a weakness within my raid group, the officers and I then make adjustments. We go, look, I watched the Fat Boss video, but I'm really worried about phase 2. Look at like 8 minutes into the fight. I don't know that these guys are going to be able to move that quick. Okay, yeah. We make adjustments. We make small tweaks. We don't make these sweeping, and that's something that I've said before. Never make these sweeping changes. Whether it's guild policy, whether it's raid strategy, whatever. Don't make these sweeping changes. We make tweaks. And then we talk about it, and then during the raid, we see what happens. We see what does and doesn't work. And then once we nail down what we'd like to keep, we continue tweaking. So we go, okay, we made some progress. We really like how we handled phase 3 for this, but we're still having a problem here. We need to adjust that. Sometimes our strategies follow Fat Boss or whatever other big ones to a T. Sometimes they're completely different. Generally speaking, again, it's somewhere in the middle where we incorporate a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we kind of mix it together for what works within our group. Now, the point being here that what we've been doing during the raid and before the raid, and especially after the raid, is communicating. So before the raid, my officers have been talking about it. During the raid, you have people like the tanks are communicating, hey man, I can't take another one of these hits, or I can pop this cooldown and I'll cover this one, or I'm faster as a druid. I can dash, I can do this, that, and that, and this. You as a Death Knight may not be able to move as quickly, so I can go get other things or do things that you can't, etc. The healers are talking to the tanks. Hey, you dipped really low in phase 2. I think you LOS'd me. Can you just move a little bit more slowly? DPSers are talking to the tanks and letting people know, hey, the boss, when we got him to 40% and that fire popped out, we kind of had to stand in it to hit the boss. So can we adjust his tail? Whatever. You guys get what I'm saying here. So we're communicating during the encounter. Now, with that being said, one of the biggest pitfalls that you as a raider, I don't care if you are the newest person within a group or you are the raid leader, the guild leader, the most veteran player, is when you are talking about, things that do and things that don't work. When you are communicating things that are working and things that are making it very difficult for you to do your job, to fulfill your role within that group, is thinking that your raid strategy or your way of doing the boss is better. There isn't a superior method on paper. All of them are equal. What happens is when you put these strategies through the gauntlet, when you pick a raid group with who knows what the composition is, and then you put a Fat Boss strategy or, some forum post strategy or an Icy Veins strategy or a Wowhead strategy or whatever bonkers website that's out there, or the way some guild did it, World First Guild did it. That's when you find the superior raid strategy, when you're communicating and letting each other know what's going on. So I would caution you as a raider, I don't care what your role is, I don't care what your rank is, never think that your strategy is better. Instead, think of things that can be improved upon based on maybe other strategies. It will immediately cause a lot of contention when you start going, this strategy sucks. I saw this strategy on YouTube or forum posts or whatever that's way better. Okay, maybe. But you should have brought that up a week ago. You should have brought that up yesterday. You should bring that up after the raid, because we've already committed to this strategy and we're making progress. Too little, too late, etc. So also what I would encourage you, regardless of your rank, regardless of your time in a group or in a guild, I don't care what role you're filling, is to be able to handle that immediate feedback. When the DPSers go, hey Bear, can you move the boss a little bit? We're stuck in fire. They're not saying, dude, you suck as a tank. They're saying, oh my God, you're killing us. Just move the boss. I can't see him. You guys need to let me know what's going on. Same thing with the healers. Hey healers, can you throw me a cooldown? I'm not saying healers, you suck. I'm saying I'm out of cooldowns. I need a little bit of help as a tank. That's okay. That's okay. But you also need to be willing to give feedback and talk to people and go, this is or isn't working. Nobody's saying you suck. We just want to progress. Be open, be honest, communicate with each other. And that's half of the raid encounter right there. Is figuring out what you need to do and talking about it and figuring out what does and doesn't work. Now, the last thing I'll say here is that a while back, many videos back, I talked about how my guild had implemented this system where instead of continuously pulling, we pick, Fat Boss, whatever, this video, we go, this is the raid strategy we're using. Instead of continuing to bam, 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 bang our heads against the wall, we do an attempt or two and we go, okay, clearly something's not working. And I go, guys, what's up? What's going on? Healers, why are people dying? DPS, why are you not killing this ad? Tanks, what's up? Let's talk about it for 2 minutes. 2 minutes open. We're not pulling anything. Let's talk about it. We evaluate what's going on. We figure it out and then we adjust. Again, no sweeping adjustments, small tweaks. Don't accept banging your head against the wall is the right way to do things within a new raid because you're hoping that, Billy the Frost Mage, who sucks at moving shit out, keeps getting the debuff, but eventually he won't get the debuff and then we can kill the boss. I'd made a video, good God, forever, back Hellfire Council, where I talked about in Mythic Hellfire Council, I think it was Mythic, pretty sure it was, that like 30 or 20% of your raid every single time it goes out, and it goes out a bazillion times during the raid. I don't remember what the debuff was, the purple circle crap on the ground or something, that like 20% of your raid gets this debuff. And it's cast like every 30 seconds or every 10 seconds or every 15 seconds. So it's a consistent, like you're going to have to deal with it. So raiders should be accustomed to and be ready for, I'm going to get this debuff. The next time it goes out, I'm getting it. So don't hope that Billy the shitty Frost Mage, whoever he may be a Death Knight or a monk, or he might be a blue bear tank, doesn't get this debuff. That's not the way to do it. Instead, pause for a second, figure out what's going on, make sure people understand the debuffs, the buffs, the way things are supposed to be handled, and adjust accordingly. Don't stop talking. Communicate with each other, and everything will be a hell of a lot smoother. Now, with all that being said, hopefully you guys like what I'm saying here. If you do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Both of these things encourage me so much more than you guys understand to continue to make the content that you're watching here. If you hopefully didn't, but if you did not like the content that you're seeing here, if you disagree, hit that dislike button. That's cool with me. However, let me know what you don't like. Again, communication. If you want me to improve, let me know what you don't like. Only way I can get better. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.